Something interesting happens when money stops being the constraint. I've actually seen a pattern emerge repeatedly with folks who have accumulated 8-figure net worths who think they've won at the money game. But the reality is, there are multiple rungs to the ladder, and they might not be as prepared as they think they are. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 distinct levels of life that start to take shape as you surpass certain levels of net worth, in addition to the twists and turns to be aware of and the strategies you can consider implementing to overcome them. Now, although these folks might feel great knowing that they've built up an incredible portfolio, all of their assets are allocated accordingly, their advisors and their team are in place, and they've stress tested the picture 17 different ways, there tends to be things that are still missing. And these folks tend to describe it as something different. Some describe it as restlessness, some describe it as being lost, and some don't describe it at all. They just feel it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard something to the extent of I've accumulated these assets over the course of multiple decades, and now that I have them, I don't know what to do with them. So here's the distinction I feel changes everything. While your financial plan might tell you when you can retire, your retirement readiness plan tells you what it might actually feel like. Think about it this way. You might have $100 million or more and still not know what to do when you wake up every day. And that, very simply, is what I would consider having wealth without readiness. And as I stated earlier, I see that there are 5 rungs to the ladder of life and retirement. And while many folks think that they're on rung 3 or 4, they're actually still stuck on rungs 1 or 2. And that gap between where you think you are and where you actually are tends to be where the friction builds up and where that restlessness comes from. So here are the 5 levels. Level 1, capital ready. You have the money built and saved, but life hasn't yet caught up. Level 2, time sovereign. Your calendar reflects your priorities, not obligations. Level 3, identity stability. You're no longer defined by outcomes. Level 4, energy scaled. Your vitality and your energy matches your lifestyle. And level 5, legacy defined. Your money has a clear purpose and goal. So let's walk through this starting at level 1, where everybody starts, including the ultra wealthy. At this level, the money works, the financial plan is dialed in, and you've built a foundation scaled across multiple generations. Whether you got here by accumulation, a business running on its own without you, or passive income flows that far surpass your monthly expenses, you feel that the money plan is set. But when you take a minute to look back at things, you realize that life has not yet caught up. Here's what this looks like at scale and why it's important. Because as your assets grow, so does complexity over time, and that can take time away from you. You might shift from having one advisor or tax person to an entire team, whether that be wealth managers, accountants, estate planning attorneys, etc. You probably also have entities in place, whether they include LLCs, trusts, or foundations, and these require time and quarterly reviews. And somewhere in all of that, you start to realize, wow, I'm having more meetings about my money than I did when I was building it. You're managing wealth like it's a job, because in some instances, it is. But here's what happens. You start waiting. You start waiting for that moment of freedom and flexibility. You start waiting for the moment when the wealth all clicks and you start to feel relaxed. You start to actually believe, now that the money is all organized, life will just organize itself. Unfortunately, this is not always the case. I've actually sat with countless individuals and families who have reached these levels, and they sit back and they wonder, I thought things would feel different at this point. 3 years into retirement, and they're still waiting for permission to live. Here's the good news. Level 1 isn't failure. It's just simply incomplete. And also good news, you've solved what may be the hardest problem of them all, in building the capital necessary to live. Truth be told, many people never get to this level. But another truth to keep in mind is that money does not buy readiness. So here's the question that moves you from level 1 to level 2. And I really want you to sit with this for a moment. If all of your money problems were to disappear overnight, and I mean completely evaporate, and money was never a problem ever, what would still feel incomplete? Would it be how you spend your time? Would it be your relationships? Would it be your health and energy? Maybe just your overall sense of purpose. And that is your entry point into level 2, where the ultra wealthy start to separate themselves from everybody else and things really start to take shape. Here, time is no longer reactive, And your calendar doesn't just happen to you anymore. It's not a function of other people's urgency. It reflects your priorities, your goals, and your intention. Before level 2, here's what your time might look like. You say yes to board seats because somebody asked and it felt like it was the right thing to do. You stay involved in advisory roles because you don't want to let other people down. You attend events and dinner conferences. Well, because you always have. Your time gets filled, but not designed. Despite the fact that you might have infinite resources, you continue to donate your time unintentionally. But at level 2, you realize that time sovereignty is living life on your terms. You can have countless assistants, or even a clear calendar, and still be trapped. You hand off your time management to other people. Your assistants handle your calendar, your teammates handle your work obligations, and your family handle your weekends. And slowly, you start to realize life gets run for you, not by you. But when you make the change into true freedom and flexibility, this is where things start to take shape. When you stop asking what needs to get done, and you start asking what deserves my attention. The meetings shrink, the obligations fall away, and your time expands. Your days and your energy start to feel like yours again. Here's the simplest way to really test if you're at level 2. Define 3 weekly non-negotiables. 1 for movement, 1 for relationships and people, and 1 for learning. Maybe that equates to exercising a few times a week, or Sunday dinners with your family, or dedicating time each day to reading a book on self-improvement. Now here's the real test. Can you protect that time without feeling guilty or being distracted? If someone asks you to take a meeting during one of those time periods, can you easily say no? And the fact of the matter is, even once you've mastered your time and you control your calendar and you are living and time blocking intentionally, there's still a whole other layer to be aware of. At level 3, this is where the ultra wealthy lean forward, because this is where real transformation starts to take place. At level 3, you'll no longer be defined by transactions, by outcomes, or by being needed. You're not your last deal. You're not your portfolio performance. You're not the person everyone calls when they need something to get done. You're not your title or your company. You're just you. And what's a little earth-shattering is that for many high achievers, this can be absolutely terrifying. For the last 35 years, your identity has been wrapped up in the person that delivers, that person that performs, that person that changes the game. And here's why this level is so hard at scale. Because when you're ultra wealthy, people around you probably still react to your wealth, to your level of access, and to your ability to get things done. They probably still see you as the person who can open doors, give access, and write checks. They might even still introduce you by your old title, the company you once worked for or built, or even the last deal that you succeeded in. And that feels good, doesn't it? It's validating. That feeling is familiar. But here's what's actually happening. You're getting validation from a form of yourself that you're trying to move past. You join the call because they need you. You help with the deal because how would they get it done any other way? You stay on that advisory board because it feels like the right thing to do. But here's what changes when you reach level 3. Wealth stops pulling you into things and starts supporting what you want to do. This is the inflection point where retirement stops feeling like loss and starts feeling like a whole new version. Which begs the question, what do I want to do next? Not who you are, not who people need you to be, but what version of yourself do you want to grow into now? And keep this in mind. The next chapter in life doesn't have to be smaller than the last one. It just has to be yours. So here's your challenge. Articulate 2 roles that you want to move into next. And start doing it. Not a consultant, not an advisor, not some diminished form of what you used to do. What's the version of yourself that excites you when no one is watching? But even identity stability, as powerful as it can be, does not necessarily mean you're at the finish line. At level 4, retirement readiness shifts from age-based to capacity-based. Time stops being the primary constraint in life, and energy and health start constraining things. You can have all the time in the world, you can have all of the resources at your disposal, and you can have complete comfort in your identity. But if you don't have the health and vitality or cognitive awareness and ability to move forward and continue to achieve, you just simply won't be able to. And while you might have spent the last 40 years optimizing for wealth as opposed to vitality, our bodies don't care. The people who get this right, they're the ones doing what they want by design when they reach age 70 or 80 or even sometimes 90, whether it be hiking, skiing, or all-out travel. They're still mentally sharp, they're still physically capable, and they're still emotionally present to get done what they want to do. And here's the reframe that changes everything. Energy and vitality can be the turning point that makes that optionality in life real. So rather than designing your health around annual checkups, design it around decades. Ask yourself, what is your body and mind going to need to be able to do in your 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond? Do you want to be running marathons? Do you hope to be playing with grandchildren? Or spending time traveling the world? And back in to what you have to do to make that a reality. And once you've dialed in this energy and vitality, once you've built the foundation to help you do what you want to do and maximize what you've built over the course of multiple decades, it's time to transition to level 5. At this level, things tend to get a bit lighter. Decision-making simplifies, anxiety decreases, and your overall ability to live life starts to really take shape. Because when you reach level 5, the weight that wealth carries tends to disappear. Not because the wealth is gone, but because it starts to have a different meaning. You stop managing money and you start thinking about deploying it, whether it be for your family, for your friends and relationships, for values close to you, and things that mean something in life. Here's an exercise that can help unlock this, and I really want you to do this. Complete this sentence. My wealth exists to blank for blank. Maybe it's my wealth exists to create opportunities for future generations. Maybe it's my wealth exists to fund education in underserved communities. Maybe it's my wealth exists to give my family freedom without entitlement. And something that I harp on over and over is that although money can give you access, readiness can give you peace. And peace doesn't necessarily come from having more, but more so, it comes from understanding what you have and knowing what you want to do with it. And if you're sitting here and you're stuck at step 1, check out our next video here.